Hello everybody and welcome to ServiceNow Expedition. We explored the ServiceNow universe step by step, and your guides today, Mike and Ivan. Ula is on a special assignment in the other sector of the galaxy. Today we would like to touch the last topic in the whole scope of reference qualifiers, which is dynamic, also known as dynamic filter options, which is, let's say, a reusable context-aware filter you attach to reference fields and use in condition builders through the isDynamic option. They wrap a client-callable script include function or inline JavaScript, so you define the logic once and then reuse it everywhere. For today, we have already prepared some stuff in the background so that we don't spend much more time wandering around with the scripts and finding solutions. So let's jump straight into it.
Yeah, let's talk about the use case, why we have, well, what we have used for implementing the dynamic filter. So maybe it's better to understand if you open the catalog item we have used so far always for our expedition. Yes, this is the catalog item. And the viewers of this channel know that there is a request new ServiceNow expedition catalog item. And then we have the field expedition leader. And now we built a small use case and said, we only want to see the expedition leaders which are in the same company than me. So here in the scenario, Ivan already prepared that Ivan, Ola, and me are in the same company, and therefore we only see 3 records. So this is something, a kind of business logic we want to reuse in other forms and other experiences. So therefore, we need a kind of building block. And here ServiceNow comes with the solution. Ivan already mentioned this with the dynamic filter option.
And before we switch to the configuration, we also will check how this can work on the platform UI, along with the usage of dynamic filtration on the catalog side. For the platform side, we also going to be configuring our application, which is called ServiceNow Expeditions. And for that, we are going to, and have actually added already, a new module, which is called My Company Expedition, which should allow us to see the expeditions performed by the members of the company we are all part of. To create a module, I have used the Edit Application option, which is available in the all filter navigator, application navigator, and then application, and then next to it, Edit Application. You can add the additional module by clicking on the new button here, and then I did that and created My Company Expeditions module. In this module, we have we need to select the link type, the list of records, because we are interested in the list of the expeditions. The reference table will be the expeditions table, where all the expedition entries are stored. And in the filter condition is where the things got a little bit more complicated, right? Or more interesting, is where we are using the isDynamic and then dynamic filter. But normally, as you can see in the list here, My Company is not the part of the default, of course, right? It's something we have configured before. So how did we do that? Let us open the application navigator again and search for dynamic filter options. If you open dynamic filter options, you can either create a new one, or let's show what we did in the background. I will look for My Company. And as you can see here, we have not one, but even two dynamic filter options which fit the criteria. Let us first check the platform one. As you can see, in the dynamic filter options I have just opened, we are in the different scopes. I am in the scope of ServiceNow expeditions and the dynamic filter option, the global scope. This is done because otherwise the system tables will not be available for this dynamic filter option, and we have to use the user as a reference table. Then we need to provide the label, of course, and the script either is an inline script or in our case, we are calling a new instance of our prepared script include. Very important, do not prefix script here with Java, with JavaScript as you were normally do in other places of the system, because it will be done, processed and done by the system automatically. You can even see this in a hint, which is popped up when you hover your mouse over this question mark icon next to the script line. All right, what else do we have here? We can, of course, restrict this dynamic filter option by role, quickly activate, deactivate it, and make it available for filter, which is we need for it to be used on the platform side, and for the reference qualifier, which is also to make it available on the catalog side and the reference qualifier section. The default, I presume, will allow us to use it as a default value. Exactly, and in this case, we don't want that at the moment for our use case. Reference script field allows you to specify where the script you use here is stored. But this is just according to the pop-up information, again, is just for the reference needs to quickly, easily jump there and identify it. All right, we have done this. Now let's check what did we do with this method of our script include. Let us open the script include. So first of all, our application in Studio. And in our application, let's identify our script include. Here we can see the method get expedition leaders of my company. We have reutilized the same method we used in the previous videos to get the users which are members of the group, but now we are also adding them one more condition, which will be looking for the company of the user. We are doing this with the glide system, API get user and get company ID method. I presume, Mike, you definitely have a couple of words to say about how this whole thing works and what to be aware of, especially when we, let's say, well, we were preparing it in the background and change our companies, right? It didn't work until we logged off and logged in again, and only after that it started to be visible.
Yeah, okay, let's start. So what you can see here in the line 11 is this additional query condition user.company. That means we are performing here a dot walk because we are still on the table this user GR member. And the question now is how to get the company of the current logged in user. And of course, you could do a lookup in this user table, but this is another database lookup and will cost something, time and resources. So therefore, better use this gs get user, get company ID, because this is cached in a session. But the downside of this approach is, as Ivan already mentioned, you don't see the new company if you change this for a user. In reality, this is a rare case, because after a user is assigned to a company, it shouldn't change anymore, especially in a domain-separated environment. This is crucial. So the user shouldn't change the company, otherwise you get a lot of problems. Yeah, this is the approach. And maybe we can also talk about why we have two methods. One is named with get expedition leaders of my company, and then there's another one, which is called, I forgot the name.
Get expedition leaders of my company in portal.
Yes, and the difference here is only the return, because unfortunately, ServiceNow is differentiating between a bit in terms of the return value and the type of the return value. Here you can see we are returning an extended encoded query, the sysid in, and then the user sysids as a comma separated list. This is for the portal use when we use this in a reference qualifier. But if you want to use it as a filter condition in a condition builder, ServiceNow is expecting an array of sysids. So yeah, honestly, this makes me a bit unhappy, because now we have redundancy in the code.
Yeah.
So in a real world use case, I would try to reuse business logic. And for example, you could call this method in the other method and just take the array and then return as a comma separated list, so that you don't have the same code for a lookup fulfilling this requirement. But here, for demonstration purposes, we should leave it as it is. It's working now. We are happy, and we can continue with the demonstration.
Yeah. Code beautification and the development techniques is, of course, a part of much bigger topics. So we will probably, hopefully at some point, we will talk about it, because it's a very, very interesting and useful, useful thing. So now I presume we can check whether it is working on the platform. Let us switch to the classic UI and then search for my company expeditions module and open it. And unfortunately, it's not working. Even though
it caused a lot of headaches before, so therefore we have prepared everything so far, and we are really sure that it's now working. For this demonstration purpose, it's not working, but this was on purpose, because there's one magic checkbox you have to set now. I already told to Ivan that I'm pretty sure that this checkbox was introduced recently in one of the last family releases, I think Zurich, but now you have to check sandbox enabled if you want to use this dynamic filter option in a condition builder.
Yes, I have checked. You can find it somewhere in the documentation that if you're building a query or like encoded query, you need to have the sandbox enabled. In other cases, it is not actually. Yeah, you need to be careful and not make any a lot of script includes available in the sandbox, because sandbox is supposed to be secure environment, right? But in this case, it's unnecessary. All right, now let's check what is happening. Have I saved it? Yeah, now it's working, and you can see here on the top that the breadcrumbs changed, and you can see now the members of the ServiceNow Expedition Corporation, which are these three guys: Ola, Mike, and Ivan.
Can you please double click on the breadcrumb path so we can see what is really behind this display? Double click on, yeah. So, and here, I don't know whether it's visible in the screen, but the condition now reads expedition leader, dynamic, and sysid. So this is really behind this display of names. ServiceNow will execute this code, the script include, return the sysIDs, and based on the sysID, it will fetch the display names of the users.
What is hidden behind the sysID, you may ask, right? Let's check. And this is the sysID exactly of the dynamic filter option we have configured previously.
And that's the reason why we have to tick the sandbox checkbox. Because here for ServiceNow is performing JavaScript code in a highly critical environment, and this performing of an encoded query. And therefore, these queries are performed in a so-called sandbox mode, and that means you only can perform reading options. Otherwise, you would be able to inject _eval code and perform any changes in the database just by performing a query, and this would breach any security efforts.
Exactly. So now let us check what is going on the portal side. So for that, we will open our catalog item. We will select our reference variable for the expedition leader list. And here we will find on the type specification tab the dynamic option. Previously, in our videos, we left it all under the advanced. So now we are switching to dynamic. And here is exactly where you can select the reference qualifier. Right? In our case, it will be portal. As we have already mentioned, we are expecting an encoded query in return. So now let's save it, switch to the portal, refresh, and see that it's hopefully working. Yes, here are the members of the company. Good.
Yeah, that's great. Now we can store global business logic in a central place and can reuse it just by configuration. So developers don't need to implement anymore in many places the same approach for fulfilling the requirement.
With this being said, we are ready now to finally wrap up the topic of a reference qualifier. We have reviewed simple reference qualifier, advanced reference qualifier, and dynamic reference qualifier, also known as dynamic filter options. And hopefully now you have them in your arsenal, and it's up to you to start using them in your daily business to address your business requirements. And with all this, we will be seeing you in our next expedition into the wastes of ServiceNow Galaxy. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.